Hey fam, welcome back. In today's video, I am so super excited because I have been waiting patiently for this day to come. Today, we are going to be swatching a lot of GlamLite. I have the Donut GlamLite palette. I have the cake palette from GlamLite. And I now finally have received my ice cream palette from GlamLite. I ordered all three of these because I really wanted like an entire collection of really beautiful rainbow shimmers, rainbow mattes, and I was curious myself how these shades compare. Now, I've seen some comparison videos. That's not really what I was looking to do today. What I really wanted to see was the capabilities, the range of colors between these three palettes to give myself a creative idea of how I might be able to use these together. You know I love to mix and match. If you are interested in seeing the rainbow array of shades available to you between these three palettes, all swatched against each other, go ahead and stay tuned. We're gonna get into it right now. So I wanted to do something kind of fun and different today. I have all three of these beautiful palettes from GlamLite. I have the donut palette, the cake palette, and the ice cream palette. Together, all three of them, there's been a lot of talk about how the palettes might have duplicate colors, which I haven't seen for myself. All of the colors look very different to me, but they do kind of work in a gradient. And for my own purposes, I really just kind of wanted to swatch all of these colors together. I haven't swatched any of these yet. None of these shades are touched. I was waiting until I received my ice cream palette to be able to play with any of these palettes. So what I want to do today is just go between all three palettes and work in a gradient, looking at the swatches and their tones together. So I know that's kind of convoluted and strange, but for me, I just kind of want to know what I'm working with and what I have here in my possession. So I think comparing the pinks, comparing the oranges, yellows, greens, blues, purples throughout the different palettes, I think it'll be really helpful for me to get an idea of what options exist for me between the three, but also might be helpful for you to better understand the options between the different palettes and how the colors relate to one another. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna just go ahead and take all of these palettes out of their packaging and we'll go ahead and get started. First, we have the GlamLite Donut palette. And it is absolutely beautiful. You've got a lot of teals, blues, purples, pinks. We also have the GlamLite Cake palette, which is pretty much like a rainbow palette, but obviously we have different tones in here than we see in the donut palette. And then lastly, a little bit more of a pastel version with some fun sprinkles. We have the ice cream palette. This color story is a lot more light matte shades, but also has some nice neutrals and deeper mattes as well. So let's go ahead and get swatching. So I'm actually gonna start with the color pink. And I think our lightest pink is gonna be found in the ice cream palette. It is this shade called Mochi. And this is a light pink matte. I will say that these palettes all have a very strong smell, which I don't really like, but I'm hoping that it will dissipate with time. I think the next pink would be the shade Bubblegum here from the ice cream palette. And this one is definitely a deeper, brighter pink, but still very light. Next is probably the shade Raspberry from the ice cream palette. And now we're getting into like a deeper, more hot pink shade. Next would probably be here from the donut palette. And this shade, I don't know, oh, this is the shade Jelly. Sorry, I'm like swatching over a vein in my arm, so it's not swatching the best, but this color's got a little bit more of like a brightness to it. And let's just compare that to Raspberry. Kind of get this a little bit deeper. So I'd say those two are very similar, even if they don't look similar in the pans. As you can see, and this is what we're working with so far, I'd say that there's not a lot of difference between Jelly and Raspberry. Moving into the cake palette, we have this shade Raspberry. Which is still along that same hot pink line, but is definitely deeper than the other two. Moving back to the ice cream palette, we have Black Cherry. And that is a much richer, more berry shade of hot pink. And then we also have this cranberry shade from the cake palette. which has got a bit more red to it and is also very bold. In terms of pink shimmers, we have the shade Strawberry from the Ice Cream palette. We also have the shade Strawberry from the Donut palette. And the Strawberry from the Donut palette looks to be a little bit more pigmented. There's pretty much like a pretty pink sparkle throughout. This one looks a little bit icier. There's more of like a sheen to this one, more of like a silvery haze to it. And I believe that's all we have for pink between the three palettes. These are all of your pinks, from lightest to darkest and shimmers. Next, I'd like to look at the oranges between the three palettes. So I'd say the lightest orange is probably this Dolce de Leche color from the Cake palette. This is like a mustardy orange shade. I'm just kind of building that up so you can see it a little bit better. So this is Dolce de Leche. Next would probably be this orange cream shade from the Ice Cream palette. And this is definitely going to be a little bit peachier of an orange. Next would probably be this pumpkin shade from the Ice Cream palette, which is a little bit more of like a true orange. So that's what we have so far. Next, I would say would be this Butter Pecan shade, which is a little bit more of like a rusty brown. Then I would say the only other orange is this shade Peach from the Cake palette, which is a more like vibrant, almost like a neon red orange. As for shimmers, we only really have one orange shimmer, and that is this shade Carrot from the Cake palette. And that is a really pretty orange. While we're here, let's go ahead and do the reds as well, since there aren't too many reds. I see this one Red Velvet from the Cake palette. It's kind of like a pretty cranberry color, even though this one isn't called cranberry. And then we have this Rainbow Sherbet shade from the Ice Cream palette, which looks to be a little bit more on the reddish side. Kind of pinky kind of red. It's a pretty shimmer. And I also want to swatch this Red Velvet shade from the Ice Cream palette that I just kind of saw, which is somewhat similar to Peach from the other palette. That kind of like, this is a little bit more coral. This one's a little bit more orange. So a little bit more pink, a little bit more orange, but similar. And then our last swatch, let's just also look at Guava, because I'm not sure what other category this color might fit into. It looks like a pinky, reddy orange shade. It's kind of like a pretty, almost like a watermelony pink with gold shimmer. It's just very beautiful colors. Next, let's move on to yellows and greens. And we'll start here with this Mango shade from the Ice Cream palette. It's like a pale lemony yellow. And let's also swatch Pineapple from the Cake palette. This one's a little bit more like a yellow mustard shade, so a little teeny bit brighter than Mango from the Ice Cream palette. Let's also grab Lemon from the Ice Cream palette. It's a shimmer. It's a beautiful gold. Camera is definitely not doing it justice. That shade is beautiful. Let's also swatch Banana from the Cake palette. And that's definitely a brighter yellow gold, whereas this one I feel like has a little bit more of a metallic finish and it's a little bit more impactful. And then moving on to green, let's grab this shade here, which is Pistachio from the Ice Cream palette. It's a bit of like a neon-y grass green, very pretty. And I'm noticing another gold I missed over here from the donut palette. This is super creamy, this formula. This is more of like a coppery gold in the donut palette. Very beautiful, super soft formula. Let's swatch Key Lime from the Cake palette. This is just like a turned up version of Pistachio. It's like a nice deeper bright green. Let's also swatch some of these teal shades in the green family. We'll grab Mint Chocolate. It's a pretty like aquamarine matte. Let's grab this deeper green tea shade, which is a little bit more on the teal side, like a light teal. I also want to grab Frosty from the donut palette. And this one is very close to Mint Chocolate, but a little bit deeper, barely, but a little bit deeper. This is a little bit more powdery blue. This one has a little bit more green. And let's also swatch this beautiful green shimmer called Birthday Cake. Oh, that is delicious. Such a gorgeous shade. And let's also grab Icy Mint here from the Cake palette. That's going to be basically our deepest blue-green. Definitely more blue than green. Moving into blues, let's go ahead and start with Icing from the donut palette. This is kind of like a cornflower blue. We also have this deeper blue called Birthday Cake again from the Cake palette. It's a little bit more of a teal blue. And then for shimmers, we have this beautiful cotton candy shade in the Ice Cream palette. It's like a really pretty metallic blue. We also have Blue Raspberry from the Cake palette. Which is a deeper blue sparkle. And we also have Sprinkles from the donut palette, which is like our richest blue shimmer. Really gorgeous shades. And also let's just grab Cookie Monster from the Ice Cream palette, which is like a periwinkle blue, purple. Similar to this one here from the donut palette, but a little bit more lavender blue periwinkle. Moving into the purples, let's go ahead and start with Honey Lavender from the Ice Cream palette. It's a little bit dry. But can be built up. Pretty lavender. Let's grab Ube from the Cake palette. Just a little bit more vibrant. Kind of like a lilac purple. And let's also grab So Sweet from the donut palette. Let's grab Purple Frost from the Cake palette. It's a little bit of an like orchidy, pinky purple. It's Sorry for that ugly swatch. I'm just gonna build up So Sweet a bit so we can see it a little bit better. And then let's try some of these shimmers. We have Blueberry Cheesecake. It's a really pretty lavender shimmer. We have Gelato, which is kind of like a bluish purple, really beautiful. And then we have Taro, which is like that really pretty orchid shimmer. This one doesn't swatch as nicely as some of the other shimmers, but it is really pretty. Let's grab Grape from the Donut palette. I feel like the Donut palette might have the creamiest shimmers. It's really pretty purple. And then let's also grab Blueberry from the Cake palette, as well as Lavender. There is Lavender, and here is Blueberry. So definitely a nice range of purples and blues. No real repeats. Now that we've gone through the rainbow, pretty much all that we have left is the neutrals. So from the Cake palette, we did the entire first row, second row, third row, and most of the fourth row, except for Cinnamon and Chocolate. So here is Chocolate. Pretty warm matte brown. And we also have Cinnamon, just a pretty light gold. From the Donut palette, we have Chocolate. So same shade, but this one is definitely a little bit warmer. It's like more of like a red brown, like a cinnamony shade. We also have a Chocolate in the Ice Cream palette, which is a third totally different brown. I'd say it's a little close to the Cake palette, but a little bit more red. Almost like a mixture between these two shades. We also have the shade Salted Caramel, which is a shimmer. That is a gorgeous gold. It's got like a brown base, similar to the shade Cinnamon, but just a lot more pigmented and metallic. We also have Rocky Road, which is like a bronzy gold. We also have French Vanilla, which is a shimmering white. And we have a highlighter in the Donut palette, which is a bit of a gold white. We have Pecan Praline. And this is a little bit more coppery. We've got Cookie Dough, which looks to be one of those like special shades in the Urban Decay palette, as well as the Huda Beauty palettes, kind of marbled shimmer. And this one is really creamy. It's like a champagne-y gold, really beautiful. We also have Strawberry Cheesecake. And that's kind of similar to Pecan Praline. These two look kind of similar, Pecan Praline and Strawberry Cheesecake. Let's look at Peanut Butter, this kind of like tan matte. This would be a really beautiful matte with any of these bronzy shimmers. And we have now swatched every single shade in all three palettes. So I hope seeing all those swatches was fun, interesting, and helpful. I thank you all so much for being here with me today. I love you all so much. And until the next video,